Maimed, raped, flogged, tortured, and humiliated. This frail image of women in Pakistan shows only one side of the coin that compromises their achievements and struggle. The discrimination and injustice they were subjected to in a patriarchal society did not deter them. It rather gave unprecedented impetus to their struggle for rights. Women's political consciousness in this region dates back to the years of struggle for Pakistan, and even before, much before. Women in Pakistan have survived most formidable eras of subjugation and oppression. After being instrumental against dictatorships in the country, there was a greater realization among women than ever that if they want their voices to be heard, they have to take interest in politics, the mainstream of it. It was, however, very difficult for them to get themselves acknowledged in the field of politics, thought to be strictly a male arena.
Because the struggle for women's participation in politics started as soon as Pakistan came into existence. Our first two women parliamentarians struggled for reserved seats for women.
Despite a prominent role in country's making, there were only two women who could make their way to the first Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. But the overall impact women were making in the development of society in those years cannot be undermined. They were mostly seen as accomplices rather than independent political entities. But Mohtarma Fatima Jinnah's decision to contest election against a strong dictator of the time gave a new energy to women, who started thinking in terms of an important stakeholder of the system. This spirit remained largely dormant till 1973.
Historically, women's role in Pakistan, the political parties, and especially for the progressive left-leaning political parties, that has been enormous. Unfortunately, that has not been documented. People like Baji Shamim, Ashraf Malik, people like Tahira Mazhar Ali and others, many such women who were actively involved in political organized parties like NAP and others.
When special seats for women were created in the parliament, thanks to women's struggle and vision of the then leadership of the country.
To the ladies, to the women.
Karaali Bhutto's elected government in 1977, and in 1979, as we all know, Bhutto Sahab was hanged. And 1979 is a very unique year in the sense that several international and national developments took place in that year. The most important women's convention called CEDAW, a convention which is meant for eliminating all discrimination against women, came in 1979. So that was the beginning of a legal regime all over the world for women to provide them justice and equality.
जब फौजी हुकूमत आई ज़ियाउल हक के ज़माने में, तो उन्होंने जो सूरत हाल इख्तियार की, उस 10-12 सालों में जो एक अज़ाब आया था पाकिस्तानी औरत पर, वो आज तक उसे झेल रही है.
Democracy once again was derailed.
मिस्टर भुट्टो की हुकूमत ख़त्म हो चुकी है. सारे मुल्क में माशाअल्लाह नाफिज कर दिया गया है. कौमी और सूबाई असम्बलियाँ तोड़ दी गई हैं.
It was not only the political arena from which women got missing during this period. An overall misogynist policy was adopted in every field that almost removed women from the social space.
Not living under the political party structure, women came out in famous 12 February under Ziaul Haq time, where they were badly bashed up.
This was the year when General Zia promulgated the worst and the most degrading laws for women, and these were the Hudud ordinances.
This was coupled with discriminatory legislation against women. Hudud ordinances and Qanun-e Shahadat topped the list. is noteworthy that during those years of struggle, there were some men also who stood with women and became part of the struggle.
In Karachi, the courageous women, the professional women who were lawyers, who were doctors, who were teachers, who were teaching in universities, and who were practicing law, so they started raising their voice.
I think when there was a complete political silence and then these women just came out, you know, and that made a huge impact. I think that is overall from on the broader political scene, you know, that made a huge impact. And then when they lathi charge, of course, this is also in our culture and tradition, and particularly after the independence, I think probably that was a very rare occasion when women were beaten up by the police on roads.
Especially when the seats were about to lapse, because there was reserved seats were only for a certain period of time, and as they were lapsing, especially in the 90s, that's when the momentum really gained. And I think it was a hard, intent, persistent struggle of women for 10 years, which gave us reserved seats for women from the local bodies right to the National Assembly. So I see it as part of the struggle. I see it as a success of the struggle, rather than a charity given to us by a military dictator.
So women under the Women's Action Forum and Women's Lawyers Association of Punjab, there were two forums. They decided to have a long march.
We had a difficult struggle because Women's Action Forum came into being during General Zia-ul-Haq's dark period, because of the laws that he introduced. It was a direct reaction to the Hudud ordinances. But as soon as we took up that issue, we discovered that there were so many other issues that were linked, from violence against women to the issue of women's political representation, the family laws which are always under threat, the law of evidence, the qasas and diyat, the honor killing. So, you know, each issue, as you take up one issue, you find it's linked with other issue.
I think around 70s and 80 when people women started realizing that they are not getting anywhere with that sort of approach, and particularly in Scandinavian countries, women thought that they should join state, they should join state bureaucracies, and they should try to dent the state from within. And I think that was a time you'll see, especially in Norway and in Sweden, lot of women activists and also academics left their jobs and they joined bureaucracy, you know. And so it was kind of a global trend where women started looking at state and started reclaiming it.
Hurdles came from the government itself, especially. Hurdle came from the narrow-minded the groups who used religion to discriminate against women. Those, I think, became our very, very strong opponents.
औरत की ताकत उसकी बंदूक और उसकी तोप में नहीं है, उसकी ताकत उसके एक कन्विक्शन में है और उसकी जदोजहद में है, और ये सारे कोर कमांडर मिलकर भी पाकिस्तान की औरतों का एक भी औरत का या 10 भी औरतों का मुकाबला नहीं कर सकते हैं।